Welcome to another episode of The Artsy Raven, a show about writing and publishing with your host, J.F. Garrard.
Welcome to another episode of the Artsy Raven. Today, we have a special guest, Abigail Hing Wen, and she is the New York Times bestselling author of Loveboat Taipei, which is being adapted for film. She holds a BA from Harvard, a JD from Columbia Law School, and an MFA from the Vermont School of Arts, and like some of her characters, is obsessed with musicals and dancing. When she's not writing stories or listening to her favorite scores, she is busy working in artificial intelligence in Silicon Valley, where she lives with her family. You can learn more about her on her website, abigailhingwen.com, and we'll have the link in the podcast notes. So thank you, Abigail.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, okay, you have all these degrees. So tell me a little bit about yourself and why you started writing and how you got into it.
Well, it's something I didn't realize I had in me until I looked back, but I've always loved stories. I was a big reader growing up as a child. I grew up in Ohio where it was, quite lonely at times. And I found my friends in the many books that I read. So I read a lot of Laura Ingalls and the Chronicles of Narnia. And of course, when Harry Potter came out, I fell in love with that series too. And throughout my school life, like through college, through law school, every time there was an open-ended assignment, I would take the opportunity to write a short story. But I didn't know I was a writer for many years. Even after that, I just felt like I never read any authors who looked like me or who wrote about things that I experienced. And so it just didn't seem like something that was a possibility for me. But I did begin my first novel about 16 years ago. And I had this idea swimming around in my head that about this fantasy novel of a boy going to another world. And I was thinking about being a law professor, but I was just not excited about that path, even though I'd done everything to get there. And my husband was like, you're so excited about this story. Why don't you just try it? And I think now in retrospect, I'm like, that was actually a really big deal that he told me to just try it, because it's kind of like, well, why don't you just go build that rocket ship to Mars? That's how big it felt. But I did try it and it just came pouring out of me. And I think that's when I realized, wow, there really is something here.
Now, you write mostly romance, right? Like your Love Boat Taipei, like it's a whole series of books, but do you also write other genres?
Yeah, well, I actually write very widely. So I was writing those legal articles, and then my first novel was actually a middle grade fantasy in kind of a high fantasy, so in another world with a lot of world building. And then I wrote kind of a thriller set abroad as my second one. It was a young adult thriller. But I think, I didn't know that I could write romance. But it just started to evolve in my writing. I used to care a lot about, relationships when I was growing up, and I would talk a lot about it with my friends. So I think maybe I probably gleaned from all of that. But it's actually, I think more than anything, is a skill to learn how to write romance. And I had some really wonderful mentors along the way.
So how did you get your first book or story published? Like how did it start, the publishing route for
Yes,
you?
it's a long process for me. I actually wrote 4 novels on the way to Loveboat Taipei, which is my 5th novel, and I had to bury all the other ones. But I sent each novel out into the world to agents. I got rejected multiple times, many times along the way. I did get an agent with my second novel, and we came close at a publishing house. But it was before Crazy Rich Asians and Hamilton opened up the world for diverse stories to have general audiences. And so the marketing team was like, we don't know how to market this. And so that fell through. And then the same thing happened with my 3rd novel, read overnight by an editor, couldn't get through marketing. 4th novel, I actually didn't, my agent at the time didn't want to take that one out. And then my 5th novel got rejected. That was Loveboat Taipei, got rejected at version 26. And I think at that point I was like, I just have no idea how to make this happen. But everything kind of turned around shortly after that. I ended up publishing Loveboat Taipei at draft 31. It went to auction at the publishing houses, and then it came out. But really the short answer is it's a lot of perseverance and just you keep going.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of rejection. I guess how do you handle it? Like you sort of fell down, but you got back up each time.
I did. It's the community that kept me going. I have wonderful critique partners who, they came around me. They're like, your stuff is really good. There are systemic reasons why you're not getting through the gates, and you just got to keep going. And just getting good advice from good writers. Well, I picked up so many tips along the way. I actually have written about some of them. I think they may be on my website or somewhere out there. But just, yeah, and just kind of growing in my craft for those 10 years before I was able to finally publish.
So what sort of things did you do to sort of make yourself better for the next book, like as you went along?
Yeah, it was incremental. So it was initially, I wrote that first novel all by myself. My husband kept telling me, you need to show it to someone to get feedback. I'm like, no, I can't show it to anyone. And now I'm like reverse. I show things very early. Now my motto is I just want to fail fast. I want to just find out. But in that interim period, I took classes online. I went to conferences. I got critiques from editors. And then I actually, I had an agent, I was working with an agent on my manuscript, but I realized I needed to go deeper. And so I did end up deciding to get my MFA. And that's when I went to Vermont College of Fine Arts. And it's a distance program. I was able to go during my vacation times. You work like 20 hours a week, like around your schedule. So I was working at the same time, and basically my vacation time and my earnings from my job went through the MFA program. I think that was the hardest decision to invest in myself at that point. I remember one of my classmates saying to me, like, we were really insecure about being there. Like, are we she's like, it's like spending a lot of money to chase Bigfoot. Like, you have no idea if this is going to pay out or not. But then I would speak to other writers. They said, it's like it's an investment in yourself. And for them, it had paid off. And for me, it has paid off incredibly. Like, I've made back all that money that I spent and more. So
what inspires you to write the stories you're writing now?
I draw from all over. So I think my, Loveboat Taipei and the Loveboat Reunion and Loveboat Forever, which are the sequels, those are all inspired by this trip that I took as an 18-year-old myself. I went to Taipei to learn language and culture, and I discovered it turned out to be this summer free-for-all nicknamed Loveboat, and that's how
I
the
was
book.
on the same trip.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, can I ask you
Yeah.
what year you went? Is that okay?
2000 something. I don't even remember. It was so long ago. But I remember there were Chinese people from everywhere, Japanese.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, there was European, California. Oh my gosh, there was one girl from California. I
Yeah. I think there were
forgot.
6 from
Yeah.
California when I went, and such an eye-opening experience because the experience is like similar. Asian Americans, Asian French people, Asian Australians, like that diaspora immigrant experience, that being displaced, but also having these ties back to Asia. And it was just amazing. It was so eye-opening for me to see these Asian Americans and the Asian diaspora. They're just so proud of their culture. And I did reconnect with my heritage, and I was able to draw strength from that. So that's the inspiration behind the Loveboat series. But my other books, they draw on various other aspects of my life. So I've neurodiverse characters who have different learning differences, mental health issues. I have a couple stories set in Silicon Valley. We just announced my 4th novel with Macmillan, Kisses, Codes, and Conspiracies, and that's following Tan Lee on an adventure through San Francisco Bay Area with like thugs on his heels, who are after his ex-girlfriend from Shanghai. So really just drawing from all aspects of my life to create fun stories that also explore deeper themes of like identity and belonging and family and calling, like personal calling.
No, I think it's really awesome that you've had success in a variety. It sounds like, you're doing some romance books and some, young adult, I guess, sort of thrillers and fantasies. So, maybe in the future we'll see more books that have more Asian characters, because growing up I didn't really see much of that. So
No, that's true for me. I think that's why I just didn't know I could be a writer for so many. I just didn't see anybody doing that. So who
oh,
looked
my
like.
mom told me I wasn't allowed to, so that's different.
Yeah, I got that because I wanted to be a painter initially. I told my mom to be an artist. She's like, you can't be an artist. You can't make any money.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh,
That got
well.
shut down. That got shut down. The other thing I wanted to do was a farmer's wife, and my mom's like, that's a really hard life.
Yeah. My grandma had like a farming life. I mean, she did live to 105,
Well, there you
but
go. Yeah.
yeah, but it is a tough life. She gets mad at us when we buy rice, and she's like, "See how easy it is to buy rice? You didn't have to like
Oh,
plant it and harvest and all
right.
that stuff, right?" So
Wow.
yeah, it's very different. Now, what do you want to do next? Like, you want
I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm doing all of it now, which has been so fun. I worked in Silicon Valley in corporate. I was in venture capital and artificial intelligence, as you mentioned. And I left my corporate job 2 years ago to do the creative work full time. So I'm writing novels. I'm also working on some original TV and film projects as a producer, screenwriter. I would love to move into directing. That's kind of a little ways further down the line, but I have about 12 projects that I'm just moving forward simultaneously. So the three Loveboat novels, the novel coming from Macmillan, and then I have 2 more novels in the pipeline along with like the rest of my portfolio. So
Super busy. Like with AI, like it's very interesting. Like right now, people view it as a competition with writers. Like, what do you think of that?
Writers, yeah, I think all creatives, and this is what I tell them, like they need to be in charge of their own AI derivatives, like things that are derived from their works. Like I've heard about actors getting body scanned, and they should own those body scans, right? They should own the rights to those and be able to license those or not if they want to. And same with like writers and creatives, like if there's to the extent AI is being used to like model or model from their work, they should be able to own, like if they write a script and an AI is used to punch it up, that's their script, right? So I think but I think that does mean that creatives need to be educated about what AI can and can't do. I do actually think AI is still early stages, and that what AI creates is not the good stuff, it's the average stuff. And so I think in the same way that cameras changed the world of portrait painting, but also spawned a whole new industry, I think creatives can kind of jump on that and figure out like, how can I take advantage of this new technology to grow my own creative career?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's sort of like a genie that's come out, and people have to figure out what to do, similar to the internet and
Yeah.
whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see in the next few years, where things go. But I think copyright will always be a challenge. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. Um, so I mean, is there anything, okay, you want to do direct stuff? Like it sounds like you're trying to build like an empire, honestly, of
Yeah,
entertainment.
let's do it. I think I'm just having a lot of fun. I am building, I'm growing, I'm finding more and more partners for everything that I'm working on. And so that's been really exciting.
Sounds super awesome. Okay, so Abigail, you're going to do a reading for us from your latest book, Loveboat Forever. Now, do you want to tell us a little bit about the context of what you're reading, and then you can start reading?
So I'm going to be reading from my 3rd novel, Loveboat Forever, which is the finale of the trilogy Loveboat Taipei, Loveboat Reunion, and Loveboat Forever. The books are actually all standalone, so you could read them individually, but it's probably better to read them in order if you can. Loveboat Taipei follows Ever Wong, who's an 18-year-old girl from Ohio. She goes to Taipei to learn language and culture and ends up having this summer of discovery, figuring out her identity between East and West, and also understanding what does it mean to honor her parents while still pursuing her passions. Book 2 follows 2 of the fan favorites, Xavier Ye and Sophie Ha, as they take control of their own lives and find themselves all again on this trip to Taipei for a big reunion. And Loveboat Forever is taking place 6 years later. It actually is told through the lens of Pearl Wong, who's Ever's younger sister. And through her eyes, we're able to go on another journey to Loveboat. We see how things have changed. Mark is now the head of the program, who taking the place of the dragon. And we get to see what happens to Ever, Rick, Sophie, and Xavier and their story arcs. The movie, which just came out, Love in Taipei from Paramount Plus, is an adaptation of the first novel. And what I've been telling my readers is that it ends in a different place than in book 1, but the journey continues in these 3. So I'm so excited to share more about this 3rd book. And what I'll do is I'll just read a little bit of the first chapter for y'all. So Loveboat Forever, Chapter 1, Chagrin Falls, Ohio. The white envelope that drops through a mail slot is the size and heft of a magazine, or a music book of piano sonatas, which have often found their way through that same slot. But I know it's not either this time. I swoop down at it as the metal flap slaps shut. A bass drum has replaced my chest, pounding out my heartbeats to a metronome on overdrive. Mom, it's here. At this rate, it can't be a rejection letter, can it? No, it can't. But months of anticipating, dreading its arrival, and I can't muster the courage to open the package just yet. I run my thumb over the gold embossed monogram that stands for Apollo Summer Youth Symphony. Old-fashioned, elegant, you can practically smell the generations of excellence, centuries of tradition wafting off the heavy paper stock. Okay, go time. Please, 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 I whisper a fervent prayer and rip it open. Mom hurries into the foyer from the kitchen, drying her hands on her blue apple print apron. Dear Miss Wong, we are delighted. Oh my God, I'm in. I fling my arms around Mom's frail neck, almost knocking her over, and send her bifocals clattering to the floor. I got in. I got in. I recover her glasses, which she returns to the tip of her nose. She reads, we are delighted to admit you to this year's class. Oh, honey, you worked so hard for this. Her brown eyes shine as she wraps her arms around me. Then she pulls back to look me in the eyes. You deserve this, Pearl. I'm so proud of you. I can barely believe it. 2 months ago, 9 judges listened to me play my heart out on a Steinway piano in the Hunter College auditorium, and at least 6 of them decided my music was good enough to make the cut. At least 6 of them were pleased. They only take 80 kids from the entire country. I scan the roster of names that form a pair of elegant columns on their own page. With a thrill, I recognize a few heavy hitters from performances I played in over the years. I'm the only pianist, which means I page through to my repertoire, the songs I'm assigned to play for the concert series at the summer's end. I'm playing the Mozart Concerto in D minor, his darker concerto, written later in his tragically short life. It's incredible. The contrast of light, sweet notes with the darker, raging ones, bound together into 3 movements, 30 minutes in length. And I'll play it accompanied by the full symphonic orchestra before an auditorium of 3,850 seats at Lincoln Center in New York. My head is fogging over. Pink clouds of happiness obscure any rational thought. There are too many words on the page I'm gripping, big ones, that in this moment I'm too ecstatic to comprehend. I shove the papers into Mom's hands. Read the rest, I beg. Tell me if this is real. She scans the pages while I storm up and down the living room. I can't focus on anything. Calm down. Take notice of the things around you. Breathe. I inhale, then a long exhale. Okay. Blue curtains, blue couches, blue carpet. God, everything is blue. How did I not notice that before? I pause before Mom's collection of brass miniatures, a piano, a grandfather clock, an iron. I pick up a tiny park bench with 3 words engraved on its backrest: thankful, grateful, blessed. Yes, I squeeze it in my hands. Yes. I peeled you a grapefruit, Mom says, her eyes still on the papers. Eat some. Food always comes first in our family. Feeding me semi-nonstop is her equivalent of love you, kiddo. I set down the miniature and head for the kitchen, where Mom's big bowl of citrus sits on the counter. But I can't eat. Concerto. Most piano pieces are written for solo performance, which is one of the reasons it can be such a lonely instrument to dedicate your life to. But a concerto, it's a piano solo with the entire symphonic orchestra in a semicircle behind you, playing along. 80 strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. One my dad helped me work toward and cheered me on to so faithfully until he passed away 2 years ago. Mom is opening a small box left on our doorstep as I return. She removes a glass globe on a velvet stand. Inside it floats a tiny grand piano and golden words, Apollo Summer Youth Symphony. I weigh it in my hands. It's beautiful, I breathe. And oh my gosh, I'll be in New York. I'll get to spend time with Ever, my older sister, who works as a choreographer for the New York Ballet. She's 24 to my 17. We're super close. But since she left for college, we haven't had nearly as much time together as I wish we did. And now we'll have the whole summer. Mom waves the papers. Everyone is performing 3 times during the festival week in August. You're playing a solo, a piano violin duo, and she starts to sob uncontrollably. Mom, what's wrong? I grip her arm and hand her a tissue from the box. You're not doing that thing where you get overinvested and my successes become yours, are you? I tease her gently. She dashes her hand over her eyes. Your dad would be so proud of you. My throat aches. Yes. He was the one who discovered Apollo online a few years ago. What a fantastic program. If you can get in, Pearl, it will change your life. I wish you were here to celebrate with us, pushing his thick glasses closer to his face and squeezing my hand in his worn ones. We've had happy moments since we lost him, but the happy is always constricted by the vacuum he left behind. Mom sniffs noisily. I was remembering just this morning that time we were detained at the Canadian border trying to come back home here. You were only a baby. The way they looked at us, so suspicious. I remember your father and I saying that, my God, this country will never accept us. She clasped the Apollo papers to her heart. And now I know we were wrong. They have accepted us. Thanks to you and your sister and all your hard work. I just wish he knew. Oh, Mom. I hug her tight, tucking her graying head under my chin. She and Dad moved to the United States over 25 years ago. All these years later, I didn't know she felt this way about my music performances. Maybe Dad did too. In this moment, I feel the same, looking at the official gold emblem on the page. Apollo Summer Youth Symphony. This is legitimacy. After so many years of standing on the outside, gazing longingly in, I've been invited to the club. Congratulations, Pearl, my manager, Julie Winslow, says on FaceTime later that day. Her dark blonde hair is twisted into her usual chignon, and her ice blue eyes, framed by long mascaraed lashes, crinkle with her broad smile. You earned this. I'm so proud of you. Thank you, I say. Julie signed me a few years ago in Walks on Water. Praise from her is hard-won. I had one solo song to decide on. I thought maybe I'd chew on my bottle lip, uncertain whether to continue. I recently ran into a beautiful and complex modern piece on YouTube by a composer no one's ever heard of. Chaotic but organized rhythms that didn't restrict themselves to the 88 keys, but also came from drumming on the piano cover and even plucking the strings inside. But would Julie go for it? Play the Rachmaninoff, Julie says. Incredibly technically difficult. It shows off your ability to the fullest. The reviewers will take note. I'll arrange for the accompanying pianist. I exhale. It's the composer's hardest piece, going from a trickle of notes to a finger-twisting torrent that plumbs the depth of human emotion. One of Dad's favorites, and I do love it too. I push down the whisper of disappointment. Drumming on a piano would be gimmicky anyway. I'm grateful for her guidance in a world I'm learning to navigate. Sounds perfect, Julie. I set Apollo's glass globe on my piano where I can see it as I play. I'll get to work. I've been hooked on music since I was 4, and Dad played me Leonard Bernstein's recording of Peter and the Wolf by Prokofiev, with all the ways animals could be imitated by strings and woodwinds. Then there was Mozart's opera, The Magic Flute. The very idea was delicious. Songs are how I experience the world. They lure me into secret gardens and stormy rivers. Piano was also my bonding time with Dad, who sat with me, first to help me with my dyslexia, which makes it hard to read music, and later to keep me company. He was always positive, even when my fingers wouldn't cooperate with my ears. Even now, every time I sit down at the piano, I still imagine his gentle, encouraging presence beside me. You can do this, Pearl. The piano doubles as my way of staying close to him, and I'm glad I have it. Mom and I make the half-hour trip to Cleveland to splurge on an updated headshot with a professional photographer. We're used to spending hours in the car together, driving to my music events, probably why she and I have a closer relationship than she and ever do. Ever had it rough. She was the one who broke the mold. She paved the way for me by choosing dance as a profession. At the time, my parents thought the only viable career path was medical school, until she showed them the trail she was blazing for herself. And after Dad passed away, for better or worse, Mom lost a lot of her will to fight us. Pierre, our photographer, has a head full of wild brown curls and a studio bursting with Renaissance paintings. I feel the Apollo aura shining on me as he positions me standing and seated. He tucks my purple beret over my left brow for a dramatic effect and smooths my long black hair down my back. Magnifique, he says. Vous êtes très belle, very beautiful. Take one of my mom, I say, tugging at her arms. Oh no. Mom blushes, something I never see her do, and runs a hand through the graying leaves of her hair. I'm too old for photos. No, you're not. I guide her to the backdrop. The red background is perfect with your skin tones, and it's just for us anyway. She protests, but when Pierre lifts his camera, she smiles. Afterward, we sip sparkling water and pour over our glossy images on a screen. It looks so pretty, I say to Mom. It turned out okay, didn't it? She says, embarrassed, but obviously pleased. She flips to the next image of me, gazing over my shoulder and backdropped by plum blossoms at night. I like your smile. My beret is like a cloud floating over my head. I fell in love with berets in middle school French class, and they've sort of become my signature piece on social media. Beneath its soft fabric, my black hair tumbles down my shoulders, framing glowing cheeks and mysterious dark eyes. My body, which has always been heavier than I'd like, looks surprisingly good in my black concert dress. I look like a movie star, I say, dazed. Maybe you will be one someday, a star, Mom says, and I just laugh. A few days later, I email my glammed up photo to Montana, the Apollo administrator, who I envision as a grandmotherly white-haired woman. Thank you, Pearl, she responds immediately. We look forward to seeing you soon. I feel a thrill deep inside me. Mom contacts the World Journal, the largest Chinese language newspaper in North America. They profiled my debut at Carnegie Hall when I was 13, all of which sounds more impressive than it actually is these days. They tell Mom they're interested in doing a piece on me attending Apollo, so she arranges for an interview the day before I leave. 2 weeks before the program kicks off, Apollo sends me an update. Their website for the summer program is live. Mom, it's up. I rush into the living room and Mom joins me on the couch. We scroll through on my laptop. The daily rehearsal schedule is packed but exciting. The final performances, including solos and ensembles in smaller halls, are all day Saturday, August 11. Mom will fly in from Ohio, and it'll be a chance for her to see Ever, which is always at the forefront of her thoughts. Last but not least, we scroll through the musicians, savoring them. It's a virtual hall of fame with classes from the 1980s to present day, 80 musicians between the ages of 15 and 18, hailing from Hawaii to Maine and Seattle to Boston. Marie Smith draws her bow across her violin strings. George Pavlovsky plays a marimba with 2 mallets gripped in each hand. At the end of the alphabet, I come to my airbrushed headshot, Pearl Wong, concert pianist. I'm not dreaming, I say. I scan the bio. Words leap out at me, beautiful ones. Known for her effortlessly expressive playing, Pearl Wong has a command of the piano well beyond her youthful years. She plays with her entire body and soul, bringing audiences with her. Wow, are they talking about me? He's very nice looking, good hair. Mom points to a Korean American flutist. There are only 3 Asians, she notes. I'm Asian American, I correct her. They might be 2. But she's right about the numbers. Besides the cute flutist, there's an Indian American cellist and me. I click on my name and arrive at a page with my repertoire. Beethoven, Mozart, Rachmaninoff. I close my laptop. It's real. Dad, I'm really in. My throat swells. I can barely choke out the big truth in all of this. I'm so lucky they took me. So I'll stop there. Thank you for the opportunity to read. I don't think I've read out loud for anything.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's unusual in my podcast. I like forcing people to read.
Yeah, it is unusual, and now you've got a recording.
Well, and also your readers can come listen to you read. Like, I mean, not everyone can probably afford to travel to see you in person and listen to you read at book signings and stuff like that. So, yeah, but thank you very much for sharing your story. Um, do you play an instrument?
I did. I played piano and violin growing up, and my younger child was actually really musical. So my younger child was my consultant for a lot of some of the musical things. I think I mispronounced some of the composer names, but yeah, we love music in our family.
Yeah, growing up, I played the piano too, but yeah, I wanted to play the violin, but was not allowed. So, but anyhow, but thank you very much for spending time with us today. It was delightful, and best of luck on your journey. And it sounds like maybe we'll see some more movies in the near future, hopefully, of your other works.
Yep, fingers crossed. Yeah, thank you. So Loveboat Forever is on sale on November 7th, and it's going to be available everywhere. I'll be doing a book tour, so check my website, abigailhingwen.com. I also have a newsletter there where people can sign up for just regular updates from me.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much. Be well.
For more upcoming episodes of the Artsy Raven about writing and publishing, visit us at jfgarage.com/arpodcast. A reminder to Patreon subscribers that there's bonus content available for every episode on the Patreon website. If you enjoyed the show, you can show your appreciation by buying us some digital coffee. The Artsy Raven is produced by J.F. Garrard. The voice in the show's introduction is Chris Gorman, and music is by Tim Moore. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe.